Welcome. Today we'll be looking at letter writing, features of formal and informal letter. And I am Anthony Onai. First, lesson objective. At the end of this lesson, students should be able to identify types of letters, identify the different formats of letters, and write different types of letters to suit different situations. Introduction. Letter is a form of verbal and written communication which contains information or message sent from one person to another through a medium. Besides a means of communication and a way to store information, letter writing has played a role in the reproduction of writing as an art through history. It could be for business, personal, that means for fun, or to pass a message to another person. Now we'll be looking at types of letter. There are two types of letters. One, the formal letters. Two, informal letters. Formal letter is written for business or professional purposes with a specific objective in mind. It uses simple language that can be easy to read and interpret, while informal letters are written to friends and relatives for personal communication and uses a casual or emotional tone. Now, formal letters. A formal letter is any letter written in the professional language with a prescribed format for a formal purpose. It can be a recommendation letter, letter of inquiry, cover letter, and so on. All business letters are formal letter. A formal letter should, 1. Be in a specified format, avoid use of unnecessary words, be relevant and objective, be straight to the point, be complex and thorough, be polite, even if it's a complaint letter, be free from any mistakes, either grammatical or spelling. Now, in formal letter, we have types of formal letters. Formal letters may be written to government, companies, departments, or for business. Types of formal letters include letter of inquiry, order letter, letter of complaint, reply to a letter of complaint, promotion letter, sales letter, and recovery letters. The format for formal letter. A formal letter comprises of the following elements. 1. The address. It must have two addresses, the sender's and receiver's address. The sender address comes first, and then the receiver's address, who you're sending the letter to, comes second. The date. The date should always be placed just below the sender's address with a line gap. After the sender's address, the date comes next. And after dates, we have salutation. Now, salutation is either dear sir or madam. Should be just fine. If you know the name of the person, address them directly and ensure that you address them as the title indicates, either a doctor, Mr., Mrs., or a Miss, and include their full names. After the salutation comes the subject or heading. This is the agenda or purpose of writing the letter. Keep it brief and, if possible, in one line only. Body text. Always organize the writing into paragraphs. The writing should include standard spellings and punctuation. The paragraph separates one point from another. Try to show clarity. The first paragraph is always the introduction. The first paragraph is the introduction. You state your name, where you're from, and the purpose of the letter. And always ensure that you keep them in paragraphs. Each message should be passed through paragraphs. It allows the work to be orderly and gives the receiver of meaning. Now, the ending. Sign off with an appropriate closing statement followed by your signature and full name. Most preferred salutations are yours faithfully and yours sincerely. Now, informal letter. Informal letters are letters written to someone you know very well. These letters can be used to convey a message, news, give advice, congratulate someone, request an information, ask questions, etc. It is a personal letter written to someone you are familiar with, like family, friends, relatives, close colleagues, or neighbors. There is no specific format prescribed for writing informal letters. While writing an informal letter, one can afford to be friendly and make use of personal or emotional tone, Slangs or colloquial terms, codes and abbreviations can also be used. Informal letters are those you send to a loved one, to a friend. You can use various language. It could be a language that's understood by only the recipient or the receiver. Jokes, fun, statements, anything that the next person will understand. Because it is an informal letter, it doesn't count, it doesn't matter, as long as the message is being passed in any form or way. Summary. Before writing any letter, first and foremost, ensure you identify who you're writing to, your relationship with the person, what message are you sending. Now, if the person is very close to you, or you have a personal relationship with the person, then we all know it is an informal letter. But if the relationship is professional, then you should go for a formal letter. It is worthy to note that if you're sending a letter to the director, manager, HR, or anyone in the company, and that person happens to be your father, brother, or relation, but the content of the letter is official, the letter must be a formal letter. Now, this is very important. In a situation where you have a brother working in a company, let's say as the human resource personnel of the company, or director, or a manager, or a supervisor of the company, but you're not sending a letter to him concerning personal issues, but concerning business, concerning the company, you are applying for a position, or you're applying for a contract, or anything that involves business, know that this letter is not only going to that person, but it's also going to the company. So you have to make it official. It has to be a formal letter, well addressed. Don't write "my dear brother." It has to be "dear sir," or "dear ma," or "Dr. Mrs." You put the person's name. Do not put slangs. This is an official letter which will be documented. Others would read it also, not only one person. So ensure you keep it simple, you keep it straight to the point, and it is a formal letter because it's for official purposes. Now, exercise. Answer the following questions. 1. What are letters? 2. Mention the type of letters. 3. What are the major characteristics of the various types of letter? Then 4. Pick one of the following letters to write on. You can either write a letter to the director of school media for the position of an intern until school resumes. Or 2, you can write a letter to a close friend who is also a student, telling him or her of the benefits of school media and edufairs on your learning during this period. All answers and inquiries are to be sent to this email address, jimosmith@edufairs.ng. Thank you. See you next time.